Hey folks, this is Kalani. Another build was released for the Shadowlands alpha this week, which means we have all sorts of updates to talk about. The character creation screen has changed again, and there's a distinct lack of sliders this time around. Balanced druids will see their main feature, Eclipse, change once again to get rid of any RNG that was left in the system, and we have our first hints about followers and the new type of emissary quest, Callings. Oh, and Torghast updates. Lots and lots of Torghast updates. Before we get started, be sure to check out our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/KalaniTV. We're having a blast exploring the alpha, and we love chatting with all of you wonderful folks, so stop by and say hi sometime. Alrighty, let's start with the new character creation window, because this definitely seems to be a hot topic in the community right now, and I guess it's also a hot topic in the dev team because the sliders have been completely replaced. They only lasted one build then, right? I mean, they were a little out of place to begin with. If you have a slider that literally just progresses through the same options that we had before, except it's now on a slider, that doesn't really do much in the grand scheme of things. Sliders are great for making your eyebrows higher, or making your hair longer, making your character taller, or, you know, adjusting the size of other attributes. But if you didn't think the sliders made too much sense either, you'll be happy to know that they're gone, replaced with a system which isn't totally unlike what we had before. You just don't get any of the small previews anymore. For example, you can click on the drop down for each attribute and hover over the number to see the changes on your character without actually selecting one, but there's no smaller preview like there was with the reel of pictures. I think this is a great middle ground though, and I love that you get more functionality out of this change. Sliders really didn't add much, but now we have access to every option with a single click, or 2 clicks I guess, so you don't have to scroll through them all to find the one you want. Things like hairstyles are named now, so if you don't want to remember the number, you can just remember the name of your favourite cuts and create a character faster than ever before with your desired look. I know a few of them were named in the barbershop, but now it's on the character creation screen as well. Personally, I think this update makes a lot of sense, and I'm glad they moved away from sliders, but saying that, if the sliders only lasted one build before they were replaced, I wonder if the character creation screen will keep this newer look, or if they'll change it again and again as the builds go by. What do you think of this version? Would this be something you can work with if it remains as a drop-down menu? Let me know what you think in the comments below. You'll probably have noticed by now that quite a few new options have been enabled in this alpha build, the key one here being eye colors. Eye colors weren't working properly until now, so it's great to finally get to play around with them in-game. As a quick side note, I think the eye colors were initially data mined a few weeks back, and we're only just getting them in the current alpha build. All of the new face stuff and skin tone stuff isn't in just yet, but that tells me that we might see all those other customization options that were just data mined a few weeks down the line. I'll be sure to keep you updated as new builds go live, no matter what new content is on offer. As you can see with the eye colors, we have a lot to choose from, and while it might not seem all too important just talking about being able to change your eye color, it does change your character's face quite noticeably. I think the addition of the blind eye is going to really change things up for role players, if no one else. Can you imagine running around with an eye patch transmog, and then underneath that eye patch, if you take it off for whatever reason, you have an actual blind eye? It sounds silly, but I think that's something you can really have fun with. Some of the newer face options also have scars too, scars that run through the lips, along the cheek, or even through the eyes. Combining an eye scar with a blind eye could look awesome and give you an extra little story to play around with your character. That's pretty much all that was added to character customization in this build though. The drop-down menu is nice for other races and other options, but the only real new thing to look at is the eye color, and actually only for humans so far. I'm super excited to see how this all looks when we have all of the new options included. We're going to have so many more options, it's going to be great. It's a little slow to start though. Hopefully we'll get a lot more in the coming builds. Another pretty large change in this alpha build came for balanced druids. Eclipse will be returning in Shadowlands, so you go back and forth between Wrath and Starfire casts, but the initial version of Eclipse was a little weird, and I guess it just ended up being too convoluted and confusing for absolutely no reason. It used to be a chance for Wrath to empower Starfire and a chance for Starfire to empower Wrath, and it had an internal cooldown that you never saw to try and force them to alternate, and sometimes it procced and sometimes it didn't, so they decided to just rip it out. That Eclipse is gone. Bye bye. The new Eclipse does more or less the same thing, except there's no RNG whatsoever. The dev team removing RNG completely from an ability? Maybe they did learn their lesson in BFA. Now Eclipse simply says cast 3 Wraths to empower Starfire, or cast 3 Starfires to empower Wrath. The Eclipses will alternate, so you can't trigger the same one twice in a row, and Star Surge will still extend the duration of your current Eclipse. So the basic principle is literally the same thing, just without any randomness. You decide when to trigger each Eclipse, and you decide which Eclipse to trigger first. You can save your Star Surges for the Eclipse you want to extend at any given time, and ultimately, you just have full control over your own buffs and damage windows. I think it's a great change, and makes Eclipse even more fun to play with. Balanced Druid is quickly becoming one of my favourite specs, and definitely a favourite caster spec on the alpha so far. If you play Boomy right now, I think this change is definitely something to be excited for. And then the last new thing we got in this build was the addition of follower and calling portraits and icons. These are just the first of many, I would assume, seeing as we have, by my count, 8 Revamped follower icons, and not really too many of anything else. If each Covenant or Sanctum has access to 8 followers each, with a few random ones like that Draenei thrown in for good measure, that's at least 32 different follower portraits, and we only have 11 to look at right now. So stay tuned for more of this kind of data mining, and get ready to collect another little crew of followers to send on all kinds of missions. We even managed to track down an actual mission table in Bastion, though it still opens up as a Legion command board. I'll be interested in which direction they go for the mission board in Shadowlands. I still think the Legion version was probably the best out of the 3 different expansions that have had mission boards so far, at least in my opinion. The calling icons are a bit smaller and are quite hard to see for the most part. I'll do my best to put them on screen neatly, but they look like they're meant to be on the map. They're very similar to how emissaries look in game with the circle icon, so maybe each Covenant will have a different calling for the day, where you go and find a certain NPC and help them with whatever they need. The dev team did say they wanted these callings to be more than just do X amount of world quests, so maybe it's going to be doing select objectives or quests for specific NPCs to help out your Covenant directly. I guess we'll have to wait until they start testing max level content to see what they're really all about, but they're starting to add the pieces of the puzzle together on the alpha. And then it seems like the rest of the build is all about Torghast, adding more Anima Powers, enabling more classes, and making the whole place very pretty indeed. For Anima Powers, Druids got their first round, Priests got quite a few changes, and Shamans actually got a lot of Anima Powers, which is kind of insane. There was a combo where your Healing Stream Totem is more or less permanent and will teleport you every 10 seconds, and then another power which causes your Healing Stream Totem's healing to provide you with a 50% damage reduction buff for 10 seconds. Combine those together and you have 50% damage reduction permanently through your run. That's absolutely bonkers, especially if it applies to your entire party. Sadly, even though Shaman's got a whole bunch of powers in this build, they still haven't been enabled in Torghast. The only new class able to enter Torghast in this build is the Warrior, even though we've all already seen quite a few extra classes sneak into Torghast when they weren't supposed to be able to. That specific bug on the alpha has in fact been fixed, so from this point on, only those who are allowed into Torghast can actually get in. A shame for anyone still waiting in the wings, but at least classes are getting added in bit by bit. When they have enough Anima Powers, I'm sure other classes will get into the party as well. The main updates for Torghast seem to be some of the environment. Just walking through, it feels a lot more fleshed out, and the backgrounds especially were more exciting and interesting. Some floors had awesome skyboxes, and we saw a lot of new floors in general. Some had huge prisons in them, others were specifically made for bosses that you can't just walk past anymore. There's a new quest section which leads you through the fiery pits and past blazing jail cells. I think the quest areas will be our introduction into Torghast, with the Endless Tower being the main feature potentially, but either way, this update has started to flesh out some of the areas of Torghast that were lacking a bit previously. I expect as time goes on we'll see more floors, more tile sets, more variety in environments, awesome skyboxes and backgrounds to fill in the empty space, and more Anima Powers to collect. Torghast is shaping up to be an amazing experience, and we have so much alpha and beta time left for it to get even better. But that's it for this video. What do you think of the character creation screen getting rid of sliders? Do you think adding in the follower and mission table feature again is a good idea, or should that one system just get left behind? Leave all your thoughts in the comment section below. If you want to explore the alpha alongside us and laugh at all the funny faces I apparently make, pop by twitch.tv/KalaniTV. We're live every Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday and Saturday. A big thank you to all of our supporters over on Patreon and our subscribers on Twitch. You can see their names floating by on screen. If you want to join these lovely guys and gals, you can find links in the description below. Remember to leave a like just below the video before you leave. If you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. But apart from that, thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always I will see you next time.